Hello everybody and welcome to Wise Exotics. I'm your host Trevor and today we'll be discussing the end of January of 2025 for the video log series. For those of you new to my channel, welcome. And if you at any time you can't hear me because of the birds, please, timestamp and I'll try to answer as best I can. There are birds in this room, African greys, lovebirds, and a parakeet. So keep that in mind. Let's see, starting off, I usually do these video logs as kind of a good, a bad, what's going on. There's some other information I'm going to talk about, both critically endangered plants, Clipeata and Rigidifolia, as well as some other stuff. First, let's get some stuff out of the way. Sad news, Nepenthes Maryae. That's the bad news, it died. I'm not sure what happened. From what I could tell, it was the exact same issue that occurred with my BE Diabolica and BE Velosa. It just rapidly died. I had put it to bed after taking some photos of it. I was documenting that night, and then I put it into the tank, sealed the tank. All the other plants are doing fine, no other issues. I woke up early in the morning, checked it around 5-ish before I went to work, came back and looked at it, and it was, dead that morning. I was like, what the heck? It looked like it had stressed from the top down, so I'm not sure if it's a genetic disposition, fungal, whatnot. Some guys had, suggested maybe it was fungus or something had disturbed it. I'm not sure. It was looking perfectly fine the night before, but it basically went pretty quickly, and that's pretty common with some of the toothy and or more sensitive Nepenthes. When they go very quickly, so keep that in mind if you're thinking of growing them. It does occur. It had been doing perfectly fine from October on and growing very well, so I'm kind of sad to see that occurred. Though that makes me question if it was a pure species, because usually that type of stress thing I see more with hybrids, but as I said, some of the more pure or sensitive toothies, that does occur with. I had it happen with a Velosa. I've had it happen with Diabolica, both from BE. I know my friends have had it occur with Lowii and some other ones like Lingulata, Argente, things like that, and Macro. So it's not like it's an uncommon occurrence. It just sucks when it happens. So for seedlings, so this will be the good news. Ventricosa exib ex vent, that was the mother, bred with ventricosa. A lot of those seedlings germinated. The other father, which was Max Talangensis, I only had one pop up, so that'll be interesting to see how it grows out. The breeder actually only had like 2 or 3 too, so good to know it's at least viable, but man, it's got a low germination rate for that hybrid. Now for the Diabolica macrophylla the seedling somebody sent me that I have no idea. One did pop out of the macro pot so far. It looks accurate. If some of you remember, I have grown a macrophylla seed grown for some years from very tiny, and it went through a lot of stuff and it basically reversed size and is regrowing. It does match to that very similarly, so I'll let it grow out and see what it is. No idea what it is besides that. For the Veitchii Candy Red crossed with Candy Dreams, it looks like I have one popping out and some others are following, so that'll be good. For the Lowland Veitchii crossed with Candy Stripe Veitchii Bario, nothing so far, and some of the other growers with those, nothing either. For the import I did with Nepenthes Odyssey from Don's Carnivores, mine that I have coming in is a Candy Red crossed with Veitchii Bario Candy Stripe. That is a seedling. That is one of 4 seed grown plants that were put into tissue culture, so it's a randomly selected clone. Looks nice though. It was one of 2 available at the time. I got to see the other one that he had grown out as a seed grown plant without putting in tissue culture. It looks great. So there's technically 5, but 4 were put into tissue culture, if that makes sense. That one did get a little bit of frost damage on the edges of the leaf, but otherwise looks okay, and it looks really good, Samantha said. Color and striping wise, nice and squat already. So exactly what we're looking for, right? The other seedling, which was a Candy Stripe, which is a very pink with a white fair some with pink stripes, very tall, bred with Candy Dreams, which we all know what Candy Dreams looks like. If not, Google it. Veitchii Bario Candy Dreams or Veitchii Candy Dreams. Rigidifolias Exotics probably has the best looking one offhand. of that clone cultivator. So those were tiny seedlings. I have one of those come in. Most of those came in okay, except for a few of her own didn't make it as well, sadly, but the rest of them did look fine. So it'd be nice to see how those develop. I also have another plant coming from her, which is, oh my gosh, another Veitchii. Nobody's surprised at this occurrence. I have like 3 Veitchii coming in. Veitchii CR 242, I believe. So she got a 2-in-1 pot. They're 2 separate plants, so we were gonna split it. I don't know which one I get, but when it gets here, I'll take some photos of it and be like, cool. I was missing from the Carnivora line. I was trying to collect all the Carnivora line. I think I'm only really missing the psychedelic X pink candy cane now, which I need to get a seed grown one for comparison and then or a basil one to compare. Those ones, for some reason, stay really tiny, and they're like pygmy Veitchii, very, very tiny. But they flower early and stay small. So, to my understanding, Drew wasn't selling any more of those. He was going to purposely breed them out and get them as a dedicated line of small size Veitchii. Psychedelic itself hasn't flowered in a while. I would love to see Psychedelic crossed with the Wave. I think that would be a great cross myself, but that's one of those checkbox dream crosses I'm looking forward to. Speaking of dream crosses, GF Wong X Candy Dreams. I have 2 of those pots. Nothing is germinated yet, but they still look good. They're still healthy. I'm checking the seeds. They look viable. If they start to die off or have issues, they'll turn fuzzy or blacken almost. But when they start to get like light green in the middle, that's kind of a hint. I know a friend of mine, their set that they got like a week or 2 before me is already looking like it's about to pop. So, yay. On the endangered species stuff, I'll cover that next after this. With Stuba, we'll be doing a sale soon. It'll be up on February 1st on their website. If you're thinking or want to try to do a group order, my friend Nepenthes, or not Nepenthes, my friend Black Thumb Plants will be doing an import. I don't know if Nepenthes Odyssey will, but she does have the paperwork for it, as does Mike's Little Oasis, I believe. So there are plenty of people to try to go through. You yourself can do it at any time. No one has to do the import papers, as with Stuba goes through their own agents. You just pay the fees. At this time, I don't know what I get. Last year, I went through Black Thumb Plants, perfectly fine. I got a Diabolca AW1, Epiphyte Ada randomly selected clone, and a Mollusk clone 2. All of which were fairly good cost, and they look great and came in perfectly healthy, and they're just slowly acclimating. I believe the mollusk is actually finally making its first trap. That's just how slow it is. This was in October again. Now on to the critically endangered plants. Clipeata, as we know, I have 2 seed grown and 1 Borneo exotics clone I got from my friend in a trade. His wasn't doing well, so we swapped plants. The plant I swapped with him is doing great. The clone is doing fine. It was a little upset in the cold, but they are a lowland species on growing windowsill highland type, and the seed grown don't seem to care. So something to say about seed grown versus clones, I guess. Clipeata, I guess, has been bumped up to the number 1 critically endangered plant because they're functionally extinct in the wild. That's just something I'm aware of. Rigidifolia has been bumped down, and there's several reasons for that. Last year, there were quite a few, I guess, operations done to hit some warehouses that were growing poached ones in mass and breeding them and selling them on the black market. So those have been repossessed and sent through to customs agents and other nurseries. I know at this time, currently McPherson and some other big names are out in the field, and they have found several populations. There's some photos going around. They are taking samples, seeds, seed pods, seedlings, full specimens that are like basils, I guess, and going to be putting them through CITES and whatnot. So those are getting pushed around. CITES is the critically endangered trade import-export services. You have to go through them. I believe that's how the acronym works, but it's called CITES. There are different degrees and levels. There's like CITES 1, 2, 3, etc. You have to go through your government and then the local government, depending on the severity of vulnerability status of those plants. CITES 2, no matter what, usually needs that government and your own government to give you the green thumb and say check mark, you can go and import that. So within maybe a few months, even a year-ish, you might be seeing an influx of Rigidifolia, just because the status has been bumped down, because now there is several populations that have been confirmed and are checked boxed, and the whole process to push it down on that threat level for it has gone through. So yay, I'm going. Quite a few of these importers are, as I said, putting paperwork in, and it just is a matter of time to see when it passes or if it's approved. If they do get approved, they will be shipping worldwide through various means, to my understanding. I've already seen a few and, said, if it gets through, let me know and put me down for a pod, and I'll try to germinate and see if I can put them in tissue culture, get the conservation effort going there. And if they get pushed out, tissue culture is really good because you can get them in mass growing out. You just have to label them clone 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., like what we do with Borneo Exotics and some of the others. There's that. So if that does get through, don't be surprised. Don't be too worried about it. It is something that's fairly recent that's just occurred. So, yay. I think it's a really good thing if we're going to get the population going horticulturally and whatnot. But as we all know, these plants are all from the wild at some point. So, sadly, someone somewhere is going to be profiting off of this or exploiting it or whatnot. Can't do much about it, sadly. On happier news, all the other plants seem to be doing quite fine. The only one over here that's giving me some trouble is my Peltata from Josh. It's been totally fine, but sometimes it doesn't like it too much. It just freaks out, but when it does this, it might be making a basil. So there's that. My other Peltata, which is down here, is doing totally fine. So we'll see how that goes. My other ones in this area are doing really good. I actually was happy to learn the Batabuli Veitchii was starting to get some stripes. I had thought it was going to be a no-striped specimen, which was fine. But I was kind of like, oh, you look like you're starting to get stripes. Cool. At this time, I'm doing an experiment, so I'm going to try some bugs and some traps of siblings. One will have eggshell, one will have bugs, and one will just be given coffee water. And I'm going to see how the siblings react to that. And then we'll have the control sibling that doesn't work. That'll be with the Maryae Candy X Acclimating Bario. So those are in the tank, and I can kind of go there. There's also the ones from Bario, Pink X Bario number 2 from Samantha. There are 4 of those, so I'm going to see how those react to that same treatment. So we'll have 2 sets for the experiment. And if one of them grows like a weed, which looks like one has, that might be the case that is in fact a viable thing to do, is add a little eggshell into the trap, ground up or just crunched up or whatever. So let's go check out the tank, shall we? But before we do, all the other plants are doing fine, as you can see. No other issues. Rigidifolias Peltata is making a trap, hiding back there. Pink Candy is there. K3 is for some reason on Taffy. Taffy's giant trap is exerting dominance over everybody. It's got that legit Veitchii Peristome flare and look. The A's are doing okay. The B's, Acclimating Bario, etc. So let's go check out the tank. Okay, the tank's set up. The only Veitchii that was giving me a little bit of trouble is this Big Mama X, the Wave, but its sibling is doing fine. I have a larger one out there. I've moved a Vada there, some JF01s and Ritz X Bario, which are the seed-grown ones I did from last year over here. As you can see, there's like one seedling popped up in that one. I don't see any more in there. The GF1 X Candy Dreams, nothing yet. Nothing the Diabolica. The Macro, if I can show it. It's right there. You can see that little leaf. So there is one in that little pot. I went from having dozens of Veitchii to like one in a single pot. It's just so like disparaging or something. Nepenthes Naga was stressing, and it went from a 3-inch leaf to that size. So it's recovering, but I put it back in the tank and bagged it, hoping that it would help stabilize it. All the other plants seem to be doing okay. There's the pot the Maryae was in, kind of like a grave marker almost. I just so sad that's not there anymore. I was really excited to see that grow out. Argente is actually doing pretty good. Both the basil and the parent plant are pushing their traps down, and it looks like growth tips are growing at the same rate, which is interesting because usually a mother plant will push more of the energy toward the basil nutrient-wise to grow faster. So it's kind of cool that they're growing about the same rate. Epiphytiata, you can see, has a nice trap and leaf jump. Looks like it's doing really well. Northiana, Robs, Neb, Eularium, Bangso, etc. I had a thought here. I was like, Veitchii are doing okay. Lingulata looks like it's got some jumps. So does Aristolochoides. Mollis, the trap for some reason down there. There we go. Let's move that trap right there. That looks fine. Edwardsiana's doing okay. For some reason it's asserting dominance with the Velosa. I might have to move it or shift things around. My female Diabolica has a nice trap right there. She's putting 1 here, 2, 3. She's got like a bunch of traps active. She usually likes January more often. So does Raja Pultata, I noticed. Speaking of Rajas, the monolithical monster here that keeps pushing out leaf jumps is growing so quick. Never thought I'd say I'd have a quick growing Raja. This one's 3 to 4 years old. This one's like a year to 2 years old, and it's growing that much quicker. I'm not too sure of this blue spotting. It's like almost blue-black. It doesn't look like necrosis. Necrosis is a different color. This actually looks like it's blue spots, almost like ink. It's very weird. But both Raja are doing it, so I'm assuming it's something normal. But it's on some of their older leaves too. It's not on the fresher leaves. This one kind of like... This is the first Raja looking like trap it's produced. Usually they're a lot smaller. It's got another one hiding in the back and then one down here. So this Raja is doing crazy. Veitchii M is right there. Very wavy leaf. Good jump, but it's supposed to be green and it looks like it's turning yellow with a little pink. So maybe, as I've said before, Veitchii are polymorphic. They adapt to their environment. So maybe it'll have some different traits in my conditions. That'll be cool to note for that one. It's supposed to be called Big Green, but we'll see how that turns out. Yeah, all the other plants seem to be doing okay. As you can see, these little ones have just a mass amount of them. Let's see. At this time, I'm also still planning to doing the giveaway. I was still waiting for it to just get a little warmer. I was thinking possibly February, March-ish for the 1K giveaway. I'm going to give away super glue, I think. I didn't really get any feedback in the comments on that, but that'll be LVB x VMV x Platychila seed grown. Is one of my largest specimens I have. I have a big box already for it too. I might also do a runner-up that wins Veitchii x Miro with like 3 basils on it, full plant. I will have to ship them unpotted, but it'll be 100% free and shipped out. So that's my current thought process on those. No one's said anything against it last time. But I think that would be a fun specimen. There aren't actually that many LVB x VMV x Platychilas available, especially that size. So they're kind of an oddity. I know I had like 3 or 4 of them, and I had sent them out to some friends who had wanted them as well, so I kept the largest for that. I might resume sales in February. I'm kind of undecided. It really depends if it's like warm or cold in your region. If any of those you guys need help or are wanting to know what's for sale or available, excuse me, please hit me up over on Instagram, Wise Exotic, and I can talk with you live and even give you pictures and whatnot. I think it's better to see what you would want to be getting, my personal thought process. I really like how the Eddie's just kind of doing its own thing in this corner. I'm contemplating moving it out, but I'm terrified to at the same time. Same thing with those large growing Raja. I want to move them out, but I'm really worried to do it. The Talangensis is smaller than it and is doing fine outside, so I mean, I might also move this Veitchii. So this was one of the experiment that just kind of exploded. This is one I had given eggshell specifically of this set. Same thing with this one. So I think the eggshell is in fact a viable thing to add into the traps just to get that extra calcium. It kind of makes sense because they dissolve bug shells, which are chitin. So something to keep in mind. Anybody has questions, comments, concerns, whatnot? If you need help with your own setup, again, hit me up here, comment if you're having problems with the plant or have questions how to grow something. Totally happy to help. My conditions are 60 to 76 typically, but it can get a little warmer, a little colder. Yeah, so that'll be it. Trevor out. Until next time.